Good Sunday morning, everyone. Brian Haenchen, Danny Riego here with you. You're watching the scores table. Feels like it's been a week since we've done a show. It's only been 3 days because so much has happened game-wise over the past few days. You had the Hendricks County Championship game last night with Plainfield beating Brownsburg to win 3 in a row. You had Warsaw grinding out a win over Northridge, 43-32. Pendleton Heights beat Jay County, a game that I was at. Snider beat Northrop on a crazy game. Danny and I were actually texting about that last night as he was screening it. Naja Winston is back for North Central. KK Holman's out there setting records. You have Monrovia getting close to setting or to making school history. Roncalli taking down another 4A team again, and some big performance out in Westfield. And one that literally I didn't notice, or that I'd forgotten and was just about to throw in the chat for Danny. You have Cathedral extending its win streak to 10 games going into City. Danny, I will start off by asking how you're doing before we dive into these fun games. Oh, and by the way, guests today, Berkeley, Williams, Hannah, Menser, Plainfield. Daniel, how are you?
I'm good. Football weekend. Like it's a big football weekend. I was watching this weekend, and I did think that it was worth mentioning that there are a couple of connections to Indiana Girls High School basketball. That's obviously our audience here. So if you watch on Monday the 19th, Omar Cooper Jr., who had the really famous Gus Johnson catch at Penn State, his baby sister was an Indiana All-Star, 2015 at Lawrence North, Lamina Cooper, who goes on to play at Purdue. Many people in the Indianapolis area will know that. But, you know, the NFL playoffs also have connections to Indiana Girls High School basketball. Austin Booker, who is a contributing pass rusher for the Chicago Bears, in another great game last night, his baby sister is Aubrey Booker, who was a standout at Center Grove and part of the Lily Bischoff, Aubrey Booker thing. So, you know, look, this is football's week at the professional level, and I think myself as one that put a lot of attention on that, maybe in addition to streaming games, but just thought I'd mention a couple of connections to our sport.
Where speaking of our sport, Daniel, where do we want to start? Do you want to start with number one Warsaw?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, that was a game that I think we should talk about and get off. It was kind of ugly, but yeah, we can start there. Sure.
43-32, number one over number 13. Jocelyn Bricker, 28 of Warsaw's 43 points as they take sole possession of first place in their conference. First big major test for Warsaw since the Hall of Fame Classic. The game that they are looking forward to, Lenny Krebs alluded to it when we spoke after the Hall of Fame, is Homestead. That'll be the next really big test. But, Danny, you had a chance to watch that game, Warsaw Northridge. What do you think?
Well, I didn't write anything down because I just kept kind of waiting for the story to materialize, and I guess it never really did. It was a weird game. I think the first thing I would say is congrats to Northridge. I think they had a good plan coming in. There was a lot of conversation that we had on the show about what they were going to do, what they did last year, all of the options that they had. They also mentioned, they being the Northridge, the Northridge contingent, Doug Springer and Lily Scholl, who represented that on this show, said that what they were going to do was kind of player-led, that they were going to talk about it and buy in. Well, Cam Conley, who was their senior leader, did in fact draw the Jocelyn Bricker matchup. It is a change and worth mentioning because Conley did guard Zartman last year in a game that got away from him very, very early. So Conley does draw the Bricker assignment, but the one big change was they dropped the pickup point and they switched everything. So Conley started on Bricker every possession, but always ended up guarding multiple people. And they held him to 43 points. I mean, Brooks Zartman, I think, maybe only had 3 or 4 points. Neely had trouble getting going. And even Bricker, who had, I don't know what her final number was. It looked like it was probably 28, 29, 30, something around that range. Even she, I think, it just looked odd. She looked like she was getting to her spots, but it looks like she was struggling to put the ball in the hole. The game was played very physically, so maybe some of the calls that they were used to getting in the Tiger Den, they weren't getting. She missed 5 free throws, but just an odd game. But I think the big thing that we draw from it is Northridge's toughness, their ability to hang. That was a very close game, really, and it was just really one run late in the third quarter that got it done for Warsaw.
I agree. I think that there's two things you take away from this. First of all, like you said, a lot of credit to Northridge for executing that defensive game plan. I'm looking forward to screening that game. But I went into that kind of expecting another statement type win from Warsaw, but Northridge apparently wouldn't let them have that. Good. And then on the Warsaw side of things, again, it's good to find ways to win games in different ways. And this is one of those examples where they had to kind of grind one out, a low-scoring game, and they proved they could do it with not everybody firing on all cylinders necessarily. And again, that's a big credit to Northridge. 33rd straight conference win and 28th straight home win for Warsaw. Reagan Huss playing against her former team for the first time. She had a couple threes and 8 points there. And now Warsaw, as I read from their press release, they're going to be heavily favored, obviously, in the next 3 conference games. And then it all sets up for that Homestead showdown here later this month.
Second of the 2 Huss threes that you mentioned was the 3 where the broadcast said, and that one is a dagger, because it was. It was the one that put them up 11. 11 in a Warsaw game is such commonplace, but in a game where points were at a premium. I mean, that's 40, whatever it was, 43, 30 something. That's normally a halftime score for Warsaw.
Mm-hmm.
So an 11-point lead in relativity to what was happening in that game was huge. And so great for Reagan. I will also mention that the stream stays live. It got my secondary screen. Like, it wasn't what I was watching. I was watching NFL football. It got my secondary screen. So I didn't have audio. I didn't really see what was going on. But after the game, all of the Warsaw players and all of the Northridge players congregated at the half court. Cool. And I thought that was really neat. Like, it just looked like it was, yes, it is a competition, but they're all connected through this. And then everybody was hugging Reagan. I think that was a really special moment for Reagan Huss, without having talked to her or having anything to confirm that. It just looked like that was, and that's what sports all about, right? That kid gets to hit a big shot in maybe the biggest game for her to this day since the move over to Warsaw. So, great job by you picking that up, that she hit a couple of threes and that connection. And for those of you guys that don't know, Reagan Huss was on Northridge's roster last year.
Shout out to the Warsaw Athletics folks for getting a press release up with stats. That's greatly appreciated. Another team with stats, Danny, and another game that you stream. Let's just stay up north. You have Fort Wayne Snider coming back from a 12-point deficit, in the final quarter and a half to knock off Northrop 49-48. You had Janiah Cooper putting up 16 points, 8 rebounds. Kenzie White with a massive game, 16 points, 17 rebounds for them. A really impressive team. A Snider team that maybe, and I don't know, this is probably my fault, but maybe going under the radar just a smidge when you have so many powerful teams up there in the north. Snider a little bit younger than the rest, but just as powerful. And those injury woes that they had earlier in the season, I think maybe knocked their profile down a little bit, not in any negative way, but just kind of in a reality way. But, man, they're going to be a problem in that 4A tournament, and they have a shot at Homestead here coming up in a couple days.
Yeah, this was probably the best game that I had streamed since the last time we got on the show, which was Thursday. This game was fantastic. Okay, let me first say I think there was a lot on the line in regards to who goes on to win that conference. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
These are 2 very relevant basketball teams. In the scope of who wins a state championship, even more so with who comes out of the north. And Hank kind of mentioned all of that. And you have kind of Snider flying under the radar. Hank, please don't let me get out of this game without also talking about Northrop. I really, 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 really like Northrop, but let's go ahead and lead here with Snider. I in Janaea Cooper and Mackenzie White, I think, weren't able to join the show. I think we had talked about the prospect of maybe even them having them on, but Mackenzie White was who we had talked about earlier in the week about how she's back. Okay. She reels off, I think, 12 points in the third quarter. And I think what ended up being 10 straight for Snider, having only 1 point to that point in the basketball game, maybe only scoring, I think maybe 1 field goal, like leading up to it, maybe even 0 field goals. She maybe got a couple of points from the free throw line, but her offense is so important to what she does. Like, we talked about how she's a space eater. We talked about how she has high IQ. We talked about how she sets screens and rebounds and does all of those things. the best part of her game is her offense. And this is not just garbage, like let's grab an offensive rebound and put it back in. Like they throw the ball into her, expecting her to make a move, expecting her to bury her defender deep. And she did it. And when she started to get going, she did get an offensive rebound put back. It was her first basket in the third quarter. She just starts to reel off all of these baskets, has one of those really emotional timeouts where she's stomping, all of her teammates are pushing her. It was a really, really great moment for, may I remind everybody, a really, really young freshman who hasn't even played the entire season this year, coupled also with the fact that she did much of this against Miley Waring. Miley Waring has a state championship ring on her finger. Previously with Bishop Lures, and she's back from injury. She didn't do this against some kid.
Yeah.
Mackenzie White, Fort Wayne Snider. Like, we'll talk about Janaea Cooper and we'll do all of that, but I wanted to lead with Mackenzie White because I could not unsee how effective she was in this game. So good, Hank. It was such a great game, and I like both of these teams moving forward. I really do.
Northrop, by the way, you wanted to talk about them. They also beat Lawrence North, a win that I think we'll appreciate and value. We'll see where Lawrence North goes from here. This kind of feels like a little bit of a turning point for them after the loss to Brownsburg. I'm going to have to catch up with Steven here soon, but the loss to Brownsburg, they have LC coming up this week. Great win there, though, I think, for Northrop. And then this week coming up, they're going to have a shot at Lawrence Central on Saturday afternoon. So a chance for them to make a statement. But you came away, as we were texting, just super impressed with them and the way that they play. And another one of those teams in that Fort Wayne area that kind of goes under the radar, but you never know what kind of noise they can make.
Well, they had opportunities to make it, just real quick about Northrop. They had a couple of opportunities. Northrop had a couple of opportunities to make statements earlier in the year. Like I think they hosted Warsaw. They play Homestead coming up. That's always later in the slate. So they do have opportunities on their schedule to make big waves. Northrop's loss against Warsaw was without Miley Waring and very early in the year. So it should be qualified with that. But they're very, very good. They do, since that loss, have started to turn the tides a little bit. They got a little bit healthier with Miley Waring. But the thing about Northrop that I really like is, and people will always hear me say this, I will always preface it, and I shouldn't have to at this point in time. They have an identity, and their identity is they are going to be tough. Like, and I mean this in the most complimentary, endearing way, okay? But they get in your face, they flex on you, they talk, they're aggressive, they'll put their hands on you. They are tough. And if you know Katie Jackson personally, she would love that I am describing her basketball team as that, because that's every bit of what she is. She is a tough coach. Her daughter Swin Jackson embodies that, getting Miley Waring back. Williams Thomas is must-see athleticism. Like, there were moments in this game, Hank, like, let me just paint this for everybody, okay? There were moments in this game where Williams Thomas and Janaea Cooper were isolated on the wing, and you're like, oh my gosh, like, what's going to happen? Okay, like, you almost wanted to be like, go, like, Williams Thomas, go attack Janaea Cooper, and you were almost saying the same things to Janaea Cooper when she was 1v1 against Williams Thomas. Like, the athleticism, the height, the college prospects of these kids, the relevancy to the state tournament, it was so good. And then the actual game itself being down 10 points and then 8 points and then eclipsing at 12 points. Reggie calling a timeout, ripping his team at 32-20, then them coming out after in ATO and making a comeback, having the good finish, clutch free throws and everything. Snider Northrop was that was really good. And it was at 5:00 on Friday night before the college football game. Probably not a lot of people saw it, but you should double back and watch it because it's a great watch.
One of those losses that they had without Miley Waring was against Whitko. Actually, they lost a couple games in a row. The first one was to Whitko. Transition for me to talk about Whitko, the 2A team that we had on last year. Saw Justin Jordan actually at Wings and Rings, got a chance to catch up with him a little bit, which was great. But staying with Whitko here for a second before we transition to the Hendricks County Championship and then our interview. They're 14-1 on the season with 2 wins now over Northrop. Beaten Huntington North. Their only loss came to Columbia City, a team which recently knocked off Pendleton Heights. They've beaten Bishop Luers. They're putting together a real nice little resume there as they look to build upon last year's historic run to the semi-state semifinals. So keep an eye on Whitko. Again, we're going to start diving into a lot of these teams, Danny and I are, with interviews and the like as we get into sectionals time. So be sure to subscribe to the channel and be on the lookout for all of that material.
Yeah. This for Whitko, it shouldn't be a surprise for anybody that's educated on in that area that they're doing this. Maybe not 14-1, but the Stonebreaker kids can play. Okay. Yep. The Stonebreaker kids can play. And they were, I think they're a junior and a senior now. They do multiple things. There's been continuity there. But yeah, look out for Justin, kind of moving forward. We had him on the show in the postseason last year, and it was because they were winning. Mm-hmm. So it's not. I don't think it's something that we should be surprised that they put together another kind of kind of deeper postseason run. But yeah, if you're looking for the connection to Whitko and their success, don't look past the Stonebreaker kids, the Stonebreaker sisters, because they're a great watch.
Reese is a senior. She's averaging 14.2 points per game, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals. Jama, 12.6 points a game, 4 assists, 4 steals. And then complementing all of that, you have Allie Brown, 10 points a game, 7 rebounds. And then another kid, Kira Lowe, 9 points a game, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. So they're a well-balanced unit, especially when you consider they're only a 2A club. I think they go north in 2A. So I think Rensselaer, again, stands in their way. Lapel's going to stand in their way more than likely, depending on how the regional and semi-state draws go. But keep an eye on Whitko. They're out of the 2A North moving forward.
Do you remember the South Bend, Washington, like this when Steve Reynolds was at South Bend, Washington, and they were super relevant. We were talking about them all the time. They had the Reynolds sisters. They had a kid who rounded out their starting 5, and she was pretty good, but she never got talked about because she was buried through the production of a Mila Reynolds that had kind of moved on, oh gosh, what's the 25's name? I don't know why I'm drawing a blank there, but anyway, it was Kyra Lowe. Like Kyra Lowe has played major basketball in sectionals, major basketball in regionals, and like she has been coached by Steve Reynolds, played with really good talent. Like this isn't new to her as well. So she's another reason when you add Brown and the Stonebreaker sisters and you add Kyra Lowe with that experience into there, that's another thing that is just really, I think, really relevant out of that piece.
I can't believe I didn't put that together. That's a good pickup on Kyra Lowe. Danny, let's shift a little bit closer to home. Let's talk about the Hendricks County Championship before we bring on Berkeley and Hannah.
Cool.
Plainfield finds a way again. 19 points from Berkeley, 15 from Mariah Armstrong, 10 from Hannah Menser, 9 from Caroline Pugh on the Plainfield side. Brownsburg side, 20 for El McCullough, 10 from Naja Joaquin, 8 for Gabby Harvey. Starting on the Plainfield side, since that's what we're going to talk with here in just a minute, but they look a lot better than they did at the Hall of Fame. Kurt Benj talked about wanting to see more toughness and kind of the attention to detail kind of things, and we're starting to see that. There's still some inconsistencies, and that happens. They're still a pretty young team, but you can start seeing them coming together a little bit and clean up a lot of things, particularly on the defensive end. And then offensively, as I was texting with you, the fact that Berkeley's found her shot, and I wrote about that after the game, but the fact that she's starting to hit some shots, really starting to heat up offensively. I mean, they look a lot more robust and a lot more dangerous here as we start rounding into the final few weeks of the season.
Yeah, the success a lot of times in sports, basketball particularly, success is in the details. So I can't, and that's why we're going to have Hannah and Berkeley on so we can talk about some of those details. But at a very macro level, if you have the kind of day that Plainfield had in Newcastle at the Hall of Fame, your season can go one of two ways. I mean, not to oversimplify things, but it could have had such an adverse effect. I can only imagine what some of the conversations were at practice within the circles of that basketball team to see. Maybe some of the adjustments, maybe some of the attitude adjustments, connective adjustments, things like that. For them to come out and win the Hendricks County tournament just a couple of weeks later with a very good field, capping it off and punctuating it with a win over a rival with such familiarity between, that coaching, those two coaching staffs, I think says a ton about the mettle, the character, the direction that we're going to see them come out of this Hall of Fame. I think that win speaks more at a macro level about Plainfield than it does about a micro level. I have been so when I talk about Plainfield, I'll talk about their 5 out and, maybe some of their trapping defense and some of the sets they run ATO and some of the minuscule adjustments. Okay. Their story in the last few weeks has just been like, how do we bounce back for this? And they did. Like it's really impressive. And it's great for those young kids. Now they won't have the luxury of bouncing back from a loss in the postseason tournament, but maybe look in the old cliche of like, sometimes losses can have positive effects if you learn from them, right? Plainfield may have learned from that really difficult Saturday they had in Newcastle. You see it the same way, Hank?
Yeah, I do for sure. And now they're 14-5, and that Hall of Fame Classic too. It's worth mentioning. It's not like they were getting blown out in those games. It was lost by 4 to Norwell, lost by 3 to Evansville Central. But it's one of those 2 of those games where it's both. If you're Plainfield, you walk away from that feeling like you let one get away because it was just little mistakes and things that aren't common for them or shouldn't be at least that cost them in the end. And now they're starting to figure things out at the right time because the schedule gets some challenging games, but it opens up a little bit where you have Franklin Central, and Decatur Central as sort of games where they'll be favored, but they can still lose. So they're good, healthy tests, I guess, before you go into that gauntlet of a sectional. A stupid sectional. I hate that sectional because it is so good with Pike and Brownsburg and Plainfield. But a chance for them to build some real momentum here going forward. Real quickly on the Brownsburg side of things, it feels really familiar where they're coming close against some really good teams, but just aren't able to break through. They lost by 6 to Plainfield early in the season. They lost by 1 to Franklin Central in a game that they had. Lost by 4 to Lawrence Central. They lost by a point to Greensburg in a game they led. They lost by 3 to Center Grove in a game that they led. And then last night by 6 to Plainfield in a game where they just found a way to hang around and stay within striking distance, but just couldn't quite get over the hump. And I think a lot of it is just youth, but you can see like the fact that they're getting there, I think says a lot about the talent that's on that roster. It's just like they need that one. And for better and worse, and I think I either wrote this or I said on the show, for better or worse, they're going to have a lot of opportunities to get that one breakthrough win because the schedule does not let up. There's Pike, there's Westfield, there's Bloomington South, there's Zionsville, there's Fishers. I mean, it's just hit after hit after hit where it's good proven ground, but on the other side of it, there's not very much in the way of recovery or opportunities to have one of those get-right games that maybe you get in different conferences. So speaking of inflection points, we're at it now for Brownsburg. Where are they going to be able to break through, and what does that do for a team's confidence mentality? Because the talent is there. It's just a matter of building that experience and finding that one positive to build off of.
And aside from McCullough, okay, listen to the names that you were mentioning, right? Joaquin, Harvey, Ava. Like these are kids that aren't very long in the tooth in their varsity experience. Okay, the schedule is the story. Like so. I think I'll just reinforce your point and say this, okay? They're going to be so battle tested come sectional. You talk about how Brownsburg and Plainfield and Pike are going to be in the same sectional, okay? Well, let's just say in a hypothetical world, let's just say that Pike and Plainfield end up at the same time. Brownsburg is awaiting the winner to play in the sectionals, okay? Like you said that they need the one to kind of break through or haven't had the one. The design of the schedule, the design of the battle testing, and when you have young players, you are building up and culminating toward that one being in the sectional. Mm-hmm. So the ability and the experience that they are logging against these great opponents, and yes, albeit in these tough losses, is putting together, the kind of equity that you need to put together kind of one of those, dream Friday nights or dream Saturday nights on sectionals. But you're right. Like what you are suggesting, what I am also suggesting is if they come out of that sectional, that is going to be some huge upset. We're very close to that. Like, I think you did a really good job of describing how close Brownsburg really is. Like, they're pretty good. And because you might not know the names Harvey and you might not know the names Joaquin or Ava Emberton, Even El McCullough, like, when you read about the Miss Basketball candidates and the Indiana All-Stars and the things like that, like, you'll hear a lot of people mention her name, but maybe in the second or third sentence and not maybe in the first. So they have a ton of talent. It fits together at times. I think it's inconsistent at times, but they are getting better through this schedule. It's just really hard to see big or measure, because it might be through a loss to a really good Plainfield team at Danville in the Hendricks County Championship game.
With that, Danny, let's go ahead and bring on our guests. We're going to be joined here right now by Berkeley Williams and Hannah Menser, coming to us live from Plainfield.
Can I get enough
Hannah and Berkeley, what's up? Good morning, Berkeley. I hope this wasn't too early for you.
No, it's actually too early for Hannah, so I'm doing okay.
That's perfect. I like, too, that Hannah has, like, apparently just sort of relegated you to the very back corner of the room so we can barely
I like to stay back. You probably don't want to see my face.
She didn't let me move back.
So I'm going to stay back here.
That's perfect. And Hannah, I love, too, that your dad apparently has it set up on a Ring camera, so props to Michael with that as well. I hope that he's listening right now. Hey, Michael. Girls, congratulations on the win last night. That was a super physical game. How are you feeling this morning coming out of that thing?
Definitely very sore, but what's new? It's after every single game. The schedule is pretty hard, so, nothing new, but,
Yeah, sometimes I can't really tell if I, like, slept on my neck wrong or if I did something in the game. So, I don't know. Every morning I wake up, my neck's pretty much hurting me, but honestly, feel pretty good. I mean, we got to win, so can't feel too bad about that one.
Berkeley, you and I talked about it last night, but Hannah, I want to ask you, what have you seen from Berkeley here recently, particularly on that offensive end where she's starting to knock down shots with a bit more consistency and really stepping up alongside you?
I think just the confidence factor. I think a lot of the times, like, she gets down on herself and, like, it's hard to kind of bring her back up and everything, and she doesn't really look for her shots. But, like, as soon as she, like, is like, oh, like, I can make these shots and looks for them herself, like, I think she's just, like, she'll make every single one of them.
And Berkeley, for you, I wrote about this morning, but why don't you tell the folks about that conversation you had with your mom right around Christmas that kind of helped get things on the right track for you?
Yeah, so my mom's a very straightforward person, so she's always someone I can kind of go to, and I've kind of had this thing over the years of, like, a look of, like, kind of feeling a disappointment factor, and, like, I've always looked to my mom or my grandpa in the stands, and they've always been someone that I'm trying to, like, play for and things like that, so I kind of talked to her about how I've been feeling about that, and so her telling me, like, they could care less, like, they just want to see me having fun. They want to see a smile on my face. They obviously want to see us win, but at the end of the day, they just want to make sure that I'm happy. And so once I kind of sat down with my mom and we watched some of the games that, haven't been the best played, not only, like, individually, but trying to look on, like, different ends of the floor from all standpoints, she was really helpful. I mean, she used to coach me when I was really little, and I never wanted to listen to her, and I still have a little bit of that in me now, and just the standoffish and stubbornness. But, I mean, once we sat down and had a really good talk, I was able to kind of hear her out and listen to the things she had to say, so that was really helpful.
Hannah, there was a point in the game last night on the stream where, like, you were stretching, like, at the elbow, okay? And look, I don't mean to embarrass you and whatnot, and this is really none of our, like, it just seems like it's really hard out there for you. Without getting too medical on this, how are you doing? Are you doing okay?
Honestly, it's pretty good. There's some, like, turns and twists in the game where it just starts hurting a little bit, but just stretching a little bit and just keep playing through it. We got more games and everything, and obviously got the win, so excited about that. But yeah, just keep playing through it. We're good.
Good for you. Very good. Your offense, okay? There's a lot of different things that we've seen throughout the years. Plainfield, you guys run a lot of sets for you, but you've been asked, it seems like through that maybe the tail end of last year, the beginning of this year, to maybe have to get it out of your own creation, off the bounce, if you will. Particularly in middle third, sometimes you get ball screens, sometimes you don't in the 5-out. Can you talk about the evolution of your offense and maybe how much more that you're maybe putting, attention on, you maybe getting into the paint off the bounce, creating for your other teammates? Just kind of talk about that a little bit, because it looks really good, quite honest.
Yeah, we've definitely been working a lot on our offense this year. We have a ton of sets. Not all of them are remembered, but the ones that are, we do pretty good with. The newest one, the biggest thing like about it is going off of closeouts, I guess, because obviously our team, like, we love shooting. Like, we have a lot of good shooters on our team and stuff. So Coach Block, his thing is use that to your advantage. So as soon as someone's running at you, they think you're going to shoot it, just like get them off on the closeout, which is what we've been really trying to do.
That's cool. Berkeley, with you, congratulations on the start last night, Berkeley. I mean, it was really good. Haenchen kind of mentioned it. It was really good to see you go out and get, I think, maybe the team's first 7 or 9 or something like that. You seem to always be more involved. But your injection into the storyline is always like your defensive matchup, seemingly. Like, at least from my eyes, it always just seems like it's like, oh my God, like Berkeley's here or Berkeley's there. Berkeley's giving up inches to this person, or, she's got this. What a great matchup there. And then you turn on the stream last night and here you are in El McCullough.
Yep.
So is this something that do you talk about it anymore? Like, is it like, oh, Berkeley, you're going to take El McCullough, and is that a surprise? Or is it just like, does everybody know? Are you asking for this? Where does that come from?
I won't speak for everyone. I think everyone kind of knows, but I think it's been it's never been anything new. It's kind of been since freshman year. I mean, obviously Ellie was here and that was super helpful just from speed. Sorry, Hannah. From a speed standpoint and stuff like that, having her quick moving feet. But honestly, I think Coach Bench knows that it's really helpful towards my confidence and my energy in the game too. And so having those tough assignments, just it gives me a different focus. And I think having a different focus sometimes lets you play a little bit more freely. Sometimes you get a little bit too distracted by it. But all in all, I mean, I'm pretty much assume most of the time. There's been a game or two where I can be put on someone that I can help off of. And I mean, I like those assignments too, but I mean, getting a tough defensive assignment has always been something that I kind of look forward to a little bit.
Berkeley, is there a balance when you are so athletic, so defensive oriented, I guess? Just is there a balance that you've had to find between making sure that your offensive game doesn't sag too much, that you become too reliant, I guess, on what you're able to do defensively?
Yeah, I think sometimes I take offense a little bit as a rest, to be fair, because I will, we talk a lot about transition, and so, usually if I'm talking to Coach Block, he, definitely wants me to stay wide, and so sometimes I'll find myself, in the corner, hands on my knees, kind of just taking a breather. And I think sometimes that does play into a little bit of, not being involved in a play or moving and trying to get the reversal and things like that. And so I've seen that kind of myself sink into the corner a little bit, just resting from defensive assignments. But sometimes I think on defense, I'm also scared a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, I get scared sometimes because I really getting crossed up, no one ever wants to happen. Getting scored over the top of you, no one ever wants to happen. So, I mean, my big thing is I definitely want to pressure people, but at the same time, I'm all right, what are you gonna do to me this time?
Listen, that's really interesting to hear you say that. You're an elite defender, okay? You got nothing to be scared about, and particularly the fact that it's such a responsibility and an honor, quite honestly, to guard the other team's best player, just night after night after night. To do it once is fine, Berkeley, but you're a joy to watch. But I do want to kind of Hannah's answer and your answer kind of leads me to my next question. You guys both mentioned Coach Block, Keelan Block, okay, and I think you guys are. At least I know Hannah, your staff watches it, things like that. But I always talk about Kurt and Michael and Keelan. And I always talk about how I think that is as good of a high school staff as really I've seen. I think you guys employ mid-game adjustments. Your pregame plans seem to be unique. The implementation during the week seems to be on point because you can see some of the things that you guys are working on. I want to hear each of your thoughts on your staff. Am I missing this? Do you have an elite staff? Just kind of talk about it. Hannah, it'll be a little weird for you because your dad is one of them. So we'll let Berkeley start. But can you talk about the level of coaching that you feel like you're getting night in and night out at practice and into games, Berkeley?
Yeah. So, I mean, Coach Benj and Coach Menser and I've kind of grown up with them. I mean, I played with Hannah and a lot of the 27s for a while when they were playing up in like IGHL, things like that. So the relationship that I've built with them over the years has helped me personally, but I also know the hours, the work, everything they put into every practice, every game, like it really is elite from that standpoint. I mean, I know that they're great basketball minds, but I also know their love and their dedication to the game and their dedication to us as, a team. And then you add Coach Block into there and you add another, great basketball mind. And he's been really helpful from like the mental side as well, because he can always pull you aside. Not to say Coach Benj and Coach Menser do, because they do. But I will always have Keelan like pull me aside, he'll pull Hannah aside, he'll pull people aside if he sees something's going wrong. And it's almost immediate, the impact it makes, because you can watch him pull someone aside and then you see them kind of go off and you're like, oh my gosh, like, what did he say to them? Like, it's magic. But I mean, having them and then obviously having our 3 female coaches, like, it's the absolute best. I couldn't ask for anything more, because the amount of support in all of the basketball minds, it's like top notch.
Hannah, what can you add to that?
I think the thing that kind of like sticks in my brain a lot is like they all have such good ideas that like they fight each other. Like one person will, like one of the coaches will say something really good and then the other one's like, this is a little bit better. So it's like you'll get like good coaching from all sides and stuff. And obviously having my dad on the coaching staff, like he's coached me for my whole life, so obviously that's like helps me a lot. When he's not there, it's kind of just like a little stressful for me, but having him there is obviously really good. And then Coach Benj, like I love just like joking with him. Like I feel like with head coaches, you're normally like, I guess like you could be scared of them and stuff, but like Coach Benj, like I'll talk to him all the time. Like he's the funniest guy ever. Like whatever. I would just joke with him. But then Coach Block also, like with the mental side, like what Berkeley said, like he's really helped me personally a lot, because sometimes me and my dad will go at it a lot just because that's kind of our relationship. And Coach Block will always pull me over and be like you're fine, like it's okay, like just chill. Like even last night, me and my dad kind of started getting into it a little bit, and Coach Block just kind of like looked at me. He goes, "Hey, chill," and I was like, "Okay." So I think it's all of them really together. And she mentioned our 3 female coaches too. It's just really great.
That's really great. And it's cool too, because Keelan, you're coached by Kurtz, Keelan, Michael, the other coaches that you guys had mentioned, and thank you for doing that. But the coaching tree that these people follow, like take Keelan, for example. Like Keelan coached with Andy McGuire and Keith Hollins. Okay. Like Andy McGuire's going into the Hall of Fame. Keith Hollins coaches one of the number 1 team, one of the top teams in the state at a really high level, quite honestly. And that was who he sat next to. And I could do that for every one of your coaches down the line too. So you kind of hear a little bit, these coaches have seen everything. You guys are extremely lucky. I just wanted to comment on that. And it's really good to kind of hear that what we see maybe on stream is true. I'll throw it back to Hank, but girls, congratulations. And when you have that coaching staff, your level of talent, just everything that you guys have going on, I really, really look forward to watching, particularly sectional week and such a really difficult sectional. But Hank, go ahead and take it back from here.
Talking about the coaches, Kaya Farrell, I mean, she coaches basketball with you guys, softball at Avon, and works overnights as a PA in the trauma unit. What's it been like having her on staff? Are you guys also in disbelief on everything she does? Just have the mic and talk to us about that woman and what all she does.
Yeah, she's so impressive. Like, it's so funny. Everything she does, we're just like, she'll do one thing, we're like, add it to the list. Like, she's our team therapist. She's our team. Like, she'll like help us with injuries and stuff, obviously, because that's her field. She'll come into practice. I'm like, Kaya, how much sleep did you get? She's like, just like an hour. And she'll be like so tired, and we'll be like, how was work? And she's like, oh, it was great. And then she'll still be like, you can't even tell that she's tired. Like, she'll just be right into the play, and she'll even we gave her some of my old basketball shoes. Like, she will literally like scrimmage us. Like, it's the craziest thing ever.
Yeah. Honestly, I think we don't really look into how impressive it is all the time. I think sometimes we definitely take like what we have for granted. I mean, it's like I couldn't imagine ever anything like that. And so like the energy Kaya brings, and she pushes all of her like worries, all of her things aside. She pushes it all aside. You can't see anything. It's all about us, and like the unselfishness she has. And I mean, honestly, it goes back to like her love for the game and her love for us as girls. The relationship we've built with her is amazing. And honestly, half the time, I think a lot of us think of her like just another one of our, high school friends. Like, she just has this energy to her. And I mean, a lot of people gravitate towards her because of that. And she's always super honest. You can always go to her if you need a little bit of honesty, brutal honesty, but relationship advice, any of those kinds of things. And so the intelligence you have to have and the patience you have to have, she's got it.
Danny, it is insane. Like it still feels weird saying it out loud what all Kaya does, but it is unbelievable what all she does. And the fact that, again, she doesn't show it. Like, just casually fell asleep in the coach's office one night after work, I think, before a game that you guys had, an early afternoon game. She went to the coach's office straight from work, slept, coached a game, then went back to work that night like it was nothing, which is insane to me. I mean, I covered a game last night, was up late riding, and I'm garbage this morning, obviously, as Berkeley, I'm sure, will point out with the questions that I've been asking. But no, she is unbelievable, that Kaya Farrell. Girls, one other player that I wanted to ask you about specifically, Mariah Armstrong, the Covenant Christian transfer. Yeah. She stood out at the Hall of Fame Classic with some big shots. And then again, last night, I mean, early on, it was Berkeley and Mariah kind of getting you guys rolling. What have you seen from her as she's kind of settled in with you guys, and what does she bring to the team?
Yeah, I think it's really impressive what she has done. Obviously, coming in here, she had some things where it's like, all right, this is 4A basketball now, which I hate to say, but like we're like, we need to be a little bit stronger with the ball. And she had a little she'd go in the paint and just start like turning around, and my dad had to tell her, Mariah, you're one of the strongest kids out there, just go up and finish. And now she's scored on like 4 different defenders, and it's actually insane what she can do. And I think just like her confidence is a big thing too. Like in practice, we'll have to like kind of keep her like going. Like if she misses a shot, she kind of gets in her head a lot. But I think in big games like yesterday and then the Hall of Fame Classic, like she really like as soon as she hits a shot, like she'll hype herself up and like get the team going, and like she's never down and everything, which is really good.
Yeah, she's been really helpful from, just keeping us up standpoint. She's always there. You'll always have her patting your back on the free throw line. She'll tell you a couple words before that, and that's honestly been really helpful for me. And sometimes I forget about how helpful it is, and I forget to thank her and things like that. But honestly, seeing her growth and her confidence has been honestly helpful towards me, and I think helpful towards a lot more people. But kind of meshing her into our defense as well has been helpful. She's been able to pick up some tougher assignments, and she's kind of learned like the different configurations of our defense. So having her just like have her grow from her mental standpoint, have her grow from her intelligence standpoint, basketball wise, it's all been super helpful and kind of like little pat off the shoulder sometimes.
One last question from me, girls, and then we'll let you guys go. But what has changed about this group since the Hall of Fame Classic? Obviously only a couple weeks ago, but you just looked a lot different yesterday. Is that a fair assessment? And what has changed? What has been clicking here over the couple weeks since then?
I think we've kind of realized that like we have all the pieces and we only have like a couple games left, and we have really big goals for this team. And obviously Berkeley and Caroline being our seniors, they've really stepped up in their roles, and like this is like their last go around. And like obviously having all these pieces, we're like we can do a lot more than we have been doing, and like we have all the coaches guiding us, as you said. So like putting that all together, it's like we can do it. We just have to be mentally locked in and like ready for it.
Yeah. From the Hall of Fame, obviously playing in a consolation game, it's kind of, the wording is hard to kind of understand. I think sometimes if you go into it with, we're playing 2 games today, no matter what mindset, it's a lot more helpful than putting a name towards a game. But I think our energy has just shifted. We've all picked each other up a lot more. We're getting more talk. I think sometimes it's hard for us because we're scared of how a teammate will react and things like that, like especially in the heat of the moment. Like I did it last night. I was scared. I hugged her afterwards. Everything was okay. But honestly, just kind of having like, we all need to come together and just like, because I think we had a little bit of separation just from each other on the court, not off the court, obviously. But And that was hard. But as we've come back, I think just growing together as a team and kind of believing in each other and having trust in each other has kind of set us apart from what we were.
Fantastic. Well, girls, congratulations again on the win. Thanks so much for hopping on with us, and I'm sure we'll be seeing you again here soon.
Thank you.
Hey, girls, congrats.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Berkeley Williams, Hannah Menser here with us on the scorers table. Danny, closing thoughts on the interview?
McCutcheon, Brownsburg, Homestead, Center Grove, Norwell, Lawrence North, Hamilton Southeastern, Brownsburg again. It's probably unfair to ask them who the best team that they've played is, okay? But we talked about the battle testing of Brownsburg. That is not unique to Brown. That is not unique in this sectional to Brownsburg. Plainfield's battle testing is ridiculous, okay? Yeah. And I almost wish I had pulled up the schedule beforehand, but that opening game against McCutcheon, right out of the gate, it's another top player in the 27 class, a team that's won 2 consecutive sectionals and things like that. So I look at that basketball team. I don't care. In sectional week, I don't care what their record is. I don't care what the draw is. I don't care. They have a chance to win every single basketball game they are in because they've won some of those basketball games. It would be very interesting for to have asked to them who did give you the most problems, right? Or maybe not who the best team is, but who gave you the most problems. But it's just this laundry list of there's 3 teams in the top 5 on their schedule. So that's my take on them. They are going to be a ridiculous out. And we say things very casually like, oh, well, if Pike plays Lawrence Central, or who's going to play Pike, and is it going to be Floyd Central? Pike might not even get out of their sectional. Because it's just such this unique kind of matchup. So that's my takeaway on it. 2 great kids with a great staff, with a great school, a great culture, and congrats on the county tournament for them.
Got a text, by the way. I don't think that'll mind me reading this on air, but speaking of Kellen Block and what he brings, Keith said Kellen Block is the truth. That's my guy. So yeah. Kellen definitely too, when he arrived at Plainfield, was one of those whose reputation preceded him. And certainly for good reason.
Yeah, he does some trade. You can see, it was interesting, man. Both Hannah and Berkeley, when talking about the individual instruction they were receiving either in a huddle or in practice, mentioned his name and not Kurt's or Michael's. And that doesn't mean that Kayla must have this connection to them. Michael probably doesn't coach Hannah very much at all. That would be my guess. Okay, my guess is Michael probably coaches scheme and everybody else except for her. Kurt obviously being the head coach has a macro level, but yeah, when you surround yourself with people like that, in a trusting staff, it's really cool as a coach to hear the kids tell stories about it. It's just more for them, I guess.
And just to reiterate, with Kaya Farrell tying a bow on that portion of the interview as well, going to be a feature on her, something that Kelly Wilkinson, our photographer, and I have been working on since September, I think, and just how Kaya manages to balance just a crazy life she has. But she's one too of that staff that fits in really well. Kurt's assembled a brilliant staff over there. I think she's one of 2 or 3 former players that he has on staff with him. But yeah, just a really good group that they have over there at Plainfield. Danny, we got a couple more games here before we cut things off and get to you to some football, me to some writing. We mentioned Naja Winston returned for North Central as they beat Ben Davis 48-47, 11 points for Mackenzie Rutland in that win. Looked like North Central overcame a deficit in the last minute or so to knock off the Giants. A good win for them. But yeah, couldn't be more excited to see Naja back on the floor. I mean, I've said it multiple times, I know I have, but I'll say it again. Watching that kid on the bench while she's sitting out for North Central was so much fun because she's just so energetic and so into it. And now that she's back on the floor, ready to build off hopefully the progress that she made last year. That state championship game, that state championship run for the LN last year was kind of her coming out party. And I'm really excited to see what she does and keep an eye on North Central there as we get into sectionals.
There was a game during the holidays too, where North Central, in front of virtually an empty arena, gymnasium, played against Homestead, and they did so without Naja Winston. And I did hop into that stream and I did watch it, and they gave Homestead problems. bombs. Like their physicality. Parker coached that game. That was anything but a holiday kind of sit down and do what I mean. It was a basketball game where Homestead really had to dial in, make some adjustment, match physicality and things like that. But the reason why I tell you that story is because it was without Naja Winston. And when I was watching that game, you couldn't help but very naturally say, gosh, if you throw Naja out here, this could get really scary. Obviously, in the end, homesteaded them, right? I mean, they just got away from them and they do what they, but you just wonder in a game like that where the emotions are high and you're really trying to rally around a game plan, to have the experience that you spoke of with Naja, I think could be one that could be something. It could be very helpful, particularly in a game like that. You said watch out for North Central. I completely agree with you. They've got a big win in them. To see if they can put it all together on a night to get it will be the question, but Naja will go a long ways toward that question.
North Central adds further intrigue to a sectional that also includes Lawrence North, Lawrence Central, and Warren Central. That one is hosted at North Central as well, so another item of note. A few other games that Danny and I wanted to touch on. I was at Pendleton Heights versus Jay County. The Schweiderman sisters are really good. The younger Carson Schweiderman coming up, I mean, that just opens things up so much for Hallie. They're back playing together the first time. It was fun talking with them about that. That's something that I'll run a little bit for Monday and have a video interview up with the two of them. But Hallie's averaging 21 a game with 3 assists, 3 steals. Carson's right behind her at 18 a game, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals. So two of those working in tandem was really fun to see. Bit of an off night shooting for Hallie. Doesn't affect her on the defensive end. She had some big steals as they were hanging in there tough with Pendleton Heights. Carson ended up leading them in scoring in that game. On the Pendleton Heights side of things, I talked to Nick Rogers afterwards, and he pointed out that for whatever reason, afternoon games just seem to be a bugaboo for them. They're just weird games. And yesterday was no exception, where they were just never quite able to pull away or take full control of that game. It was always kind of that 2 to 3 possession range, but Ada Hupford, 21 points. I mean, it's basically a cheat code when you can dump it inside to her with that frequency that they're able to, and they're able to, they kind of do a job of picking their spots. But when they do, she rarely misses from point blank range. Olivia Jones, 10 points, another big game for her. Mamie Trout, 8 points for her. Hopefully she's starting to figure things out, not unlike a Berkeley Williams kid, and just that when she's firing and able to put up some points like she has in years past, that Pendleton Heights team looks really, really good. Just in terms of, depth, diversity of scoring, and all those sorts of things.
Yep. And Pendleton Heights' flagship win is one against HSC, and who I kind of checked in back on. It's great to see Kennedy Holman back. You mentioned the record at the beginning, but I wanted to shout out Kayla Stidham. Kayla Stidham, during the games that Kennedy Holman was out, KK Holman was out, stepped up. And you wanted to see, and it wasn't, she had been playing well before before Kennedy Holman's injury. So I don't want to say that it was because of that. Okay. But she steps into a more major role. They get a couple of wins along the way. And then Kennedy comes back, and they're playing at Carroll last night, and it's just sluggish. Like it was like 20 to 15. Like the stream didn't have the score. So you're kind of tracking it in your head. And sometimes you can kind of see it, when they were panning around. I think I saw it was like 20 to 16, and it was like HSC at Carroll, sluggish Saturday. And then Stidham comes out and hits I think 2 threes in a row. They go on an 8-0 run. The rest is history. They stretch it out again. She goes on. She hits 2 more threes, I think, in the third quarter. That leads to another 8-0 run. Like, she's playing really, really well. And when you look at the return of Kennedy Holman coupled now with Stidham playing well, and then throw on top of it this Haley Mazzara shooting 45% from 3. Okay, she only takes threes that she's open for. Okay, she makes all great decisions. But now you have this team in HSE, mixed in there that has this win over Homestead and a Miss Basketball candidate and an all-star candidate and Kayla, who's playing really well. HSE is starting to be kind of sneaky on this ascension to be like, okay, maybe this isn't the team that lost to Pendleton Heights. Maybe this is more like the team that beat Homestead. So we'll see how that kind of spins forward. But I wanted to shout out Kayla Stidham because I think she's the biggest reason why that's happening over there.
Punctuating your point on HSC, then using that to transition to Westfield. that was the one thing with KK missing a couple games, that it gave HSC an opportunity to get those younger kids some reps and learning to play without KK on the floor, to build confidence, see how things work. And obviously you don't want to see anybody miss time due to injuries, but if you have to make lemonade out of a really bad lemon, that's a great way. It's a great way to approach it, I suppose. That's a good analogy, right? So yeah, I agree with you. I think HSC is quietly figuring things out. Westfield on Friday picked up an impressive win, 61-39. Lillian Clark goes for 22 points, 9 of 19 shooting. That's good for 47%. She had a great game for them, plus 5 steals, 19 points for Riley Suarez on the Hamilton Heights side. That's one of those games that I was curious to see which way it would go. You know, like it felt like a game, maybe Hamilton Heights, a young team, maybe they hang in there with the big 4A contender, and that's kind of a launching pad. Or maybe on the other side, Westfield uses it as an opportunity to kind of flex their muscles a little bit, and it wound up being the latter. A really good win there for Westfield.
I think Westfield has done nothing, by the way, to back us off that they are probably the team with the maybe standing in the way of HSE most in regards to who's going to win Sectional 8. I, like you, was very curious to see. But Westfield getting away from Hamilton Heights, you also need to couple that with the fact that they had a really, really difficult game that I did not stream, but I was getting text updates about against Chatard, which was a kind of a 1-point victory. So here you have also on the other side of Hamilton County from HSE, across 146th Street. Now you have this other outfit that is just learning how to win basketball games in different ways, So, Westfield being good and winning basketball games is not new, but we are kind of, I don't know, maybe getting toward this apex of this Saturday night potential matchup between Hamilton, Southeastern, and Westfield. And I'm sure Carmel and Noblesville and everybody it will have, hang on, Danny. But those look like the two best teams in 8. They really
played on repeat going into sectional. This Riego guy's overlooking us.
Listen, when you beat Hamilton, I got a lot of respect. I got a lot of respect for Hamilton Heights and that talent. Riley Suarez is really having a great year, and those and those freshmen, whether in Curry and Isol and Bloom, and those kids are learning how to play varsity basketball. They're learning how to play varsity basketball all together. And one consistent thing there, when you look at Hamilton Heights, is Suarez is doing her thing. It seems like it's a double every night. They undressed them. Westfield undressed them. That's a very good basketball team on a Friday night. They undressed them. So Westfield is very, very good. That's not news. But yeah, that was the one that I wanted. Remember, I wanted that one moved.
Yeah, I did too. Actually, I wanted to go to it. You mentioned Westfield's win over Bishop Chatard, a 58-57 win, a game that came right down to the very end. Bishop Chatard, that was their third loss in a row, but they're becoming increasingly competitive and kind of rounding into form. I'm really looking forward to seeing them at City here this week. They beat a scrappy Guerin team 56-50 the other night, but against or in that game behind a big game from Alex Kendall, who had 29 points. Olivia Berzai had a double-double, 13 points, 15 rebounds. And then against Westfield, the 1-point loss at the buzzer, you had Berzai with 14 points, Olivia Maynard 13 points, Alex Kendall 11 points, LeBron 9 points. You can kind of see this team sort of taking shape and kind of figuring things out and putting things together. And I use that as a way to transition to this city tournament coming up, because you have Cathedral, Chatard, Heritage Christian, and Purdue Poly all set up to kind of meet in the semifinals at Quartet. And that's going to be 2 really good measuring sticks for all 4 teams, 2 measuring stick opportunities for all 4 teams. So it's going to be phenomenal. A Cathedral team that's red hot. They won their 10th straight yesterday, as we mentioned, with the win over Delta. Based on the tweet that I think Lisa sent out, it wasn't the most robust game for them offensively, but they found a way to win again against a quality opponent. Pair that up with the Noblesville win. I mean, they're really chugging along here in terms of the wins. Chatard, like we just mentioned, Heritage Christian, Danny, a team that you've had a chance to screen, I've had a chance to see in person. They have some good weapons there. Obviously, Riley Johnson, the Snively kid, has been playing phenomenally. And then Purdue Poly, a team that kind of maybe gets lost in the shuffle there, but has the talent, the size, the height to really mess up some team seasons. I really like that Purdue Poly team. I'm looking forward to seeing them in person. Tasia Briscoe, name that comes to mind immediately when you're talking about Purdue Poly.
Yeah, I did see Heritage Christian again live now. For the second time this season, I saw him at Carmel. You mentioned Snively and Riley. And those are the names that people will the easy names, I guess, to remember. And Snively looks really good, particularly. Kiana Mellinson. This is now the second time on this pod where I've mentioned her. Okay. She's the transfer from Cy-Fair, Texas. She looks very good. And seeing her live, I sat up close again, kind of close to the Heritage Christian bench. She does some really good things. I mean, again, in an earlier episode, I talked about how they needed a basket late in the game at home. Mellinson was the kid that got the shot. They needed baskets against Carmel, against Jess's outfit on this in this basketball game. And Mellinson was the one who was kind of at the central piece of all this. That's a nice little three-headed backcourt. Okay. Like Snively and Johnson, of course, you throw Mellinson in there, they can do a lot of really good things. On the Carmel side of things, Bassie being back is something like this. The Heritage Christian game on Saturday was the first game where it seemed like minute restriction was lifted. Okay. I think that was very casually confirmed by a fan, but not anything that I can report necessarily. But she definitely played a lot more in that Heritage Christian game than she did on Thursday night against Center Grove. Against Center Grove, they took Center Grove 20-20 at halftime. Okay. Now one might say 20-20. What an ugly basketball game. Like, I was getting texts, by the way, that was like, Center Grove isn't on, the level of Pike or whatever. And then they come out and it's like 35-9 in the third quarter, like the third and the fourth quarter against Carmel. Okay. But to come full circle around in Heritage Christian and Carmel and kind of put a bow on that, when you have Maddie Wallace running the point guard and you have Bella Ramsey running the floor, by the way, that pitch transition pass from Wallace to Ramsey is about as true as science. Like, those two kids do it as good as anybody. I talked and joked about how they did it at Clay Middle School over and over and over again. Well, they're doing it at Carmel High School. Now, when you put Catherine Bassie into the mix, a capable scorer, I'm not sure that she would be comfortable me sharing this, but it wasn't set off record or anything like that. But Jess told me very casually after the Center Grove game that Catherine Bassie, along with Ella Collier, are the two smartest basketball players that she's ever coached. Like, that is super high praise coming from a coach, and to be sandwiched into that sentence with Ella Collier, like, that's really something. When you have a capable scorer like that and that kind of IQ to run a college system at the high school level the way the Carmel's trying to do, that's extremely valuable. So let's watch Carmel over the next 4 basketball games or so, see where they go with Bassie back now off of minute restriction.
Danny, any other games you want to get to before I look us ahead to next week and get us out of here?
I was just looking. Write us out, man. We good.
All right, so we got some big games coming up here. Roncalli at Greensburg on Tuesday. Roncalli coming off a comfort behind win over 4A Franklin Central. Really good test for both teams, potentially a semi-state preview there that we're looking at. That night also includes Zionsville at North Central. We'll talk about that more North Central here in a second. City semifinals, as we mentioned, on Thursday. That's the same night as Lawrence North at Lawrence Central. Opportunity for Lawrence North to maybe make a statement here to get the ship righted after a couple losses. Lawrence Central, a team, as we mentioned last show, that's been figuring things out here of late, putting the pieces together. Friday, you have North Central at Brebeuf. You have the city championship. You have Snider Homestead, and then you have HSC Westfield. That's a loaded slate that we're going to have there on Friday night. And then on Saturday, you have Northrop traveling over to Lawrence Central. Pikes playing at Ben Davis. Ben Davis is one of those teams that on the right night, they can knock somebody off in that sectional and win some big games here down the stretch too. So we'll see how that one goes. And then Plainfield at Franklin. Again, Plainfield will be favored, but Franklin has been the underdog in some of these games earlier this season and have found a way to win. We'll be splitting up shows again this week coming up. Show Wednesday, show Saturday. Show Sunday, excuse me. Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. Sectional draw is January 25th, I believe. Danny and I will have our post-draw show that night, and then it's same as we did before. We'll have a big breakdown show. We'll have live post-game shows, everything. So make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. We're almost to 600. The goal is 1,000, so we're nowhere near that goal, but we're slowly getting there with time. So be sure to hit the subscribe button. I feel like such a dork saying that, but it is important for the business side of things, I am told. So please help me appease my corporate overloads with that. And yeah, Danny, that's a show. We got it in at just over an hour. I think we did a good job with that. Thank you for doing this as always. Thanks to Berkeley Williams and Hannah Menser for hopping on with us. Thank you all for watching. We will talk to you again here in a couple days.